Hello everyone and welcome to Path of Building and my guide for the low budget version of Indigon cast on crit build using Pathfinder Ascendancy. This version is the damage that you see here is on a 5 link, and this will be using cast on crit setup with Cyclone and IceNova as well as Frostbolt from our weapons, and this is the starting point of where you can start making currency, farming low tier maps, and continue your way up to the min-maxed version to the ice spear cast on crit version of my build with double clusters and others. I will be touching on the passive tree as well as gear, jewels, skills, what you need to have, and I'll also give you upgrade points and paths on where to look next, what to upgrade. And so that's about it. So let's go jump into the items section first and see what we have. So first of all, the weapons. We will be using 2 CoC Malice jeweled foil. This is the needed weapons or kind of build enablers. Most of the items are uniques, so no matter how much how bad you are at making builds or copying builds, that's not gonna be a problem in this case. We're gonna be using mostly uniques. So CoC Malice jeweled foil, these are very cheap right now, about 90 to 100 C. When you are buying them, make sure you have 14% increased attack speed roll on them. And of course, if you are buying corrupted CoC, do not buy one that has resolute technique on their implicit. This will make it so that you never crit, and since this is a cast on crit build, it will brick your whole build. And also, if you're buying corrupted CoC, make sure they have socket links and colors, so if you don't have the benchcraft for them, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Next, we have helmet. In this case, we are using Indigon. This is the bread and butter, cookie cutter, whatever you say. This gives us damage as well as survivability, utility, you name it, this gives it. When you're buying Indigon, make sure that the last stat for it, the increased spell damage for each 200 total mana you have spent recently, is either 24 or 25. This will help us get our damage to IceNova ramp up really quickly. Next, we have Cloak of Defiance as our body armor slot. You can buy one for 5 link. This is gonna be around 100 chaos again, and color it yourself. Make sure when you are buying it that you have at least 130 mana or 135 maximum mana on it. This gives us everything that we need. First of all, this gives us a huge chunk of mana. Next, this gives us mind over matter keystone for free, which makes it so that 30% of the damage that we take will be taken from mana first, and then the rest will be taken from life after the reductions through various resistances. Also, this gives us 10% extra mind over matter, so 40% of the damage that we take will be taken on mana and then life. Also, mana regeneration rate is great. Next, we have the gloves. This is Khalisa's Grace Might gloves. I edited these gloves to make it that we have plus 2% critical strike chance, but the gloves it gives you plus 2% crit chance for 2 seconds after you spend 200 mana. Unfortunately, for some reason, PoE does not calculate these crit chance, so you have to edit this yourself manually and do it and keep it like this in order for it to be calculated into your DPS. When you're buying this, make sure that you're buying it with high intelligence, like 29-30 intelligence, and as much life as possible. These are very cheap, like 5 to 10 chaos, I think. Next, we have the Omeocon boots. These are really expensive at the league start, but during mid league, these are not expensive at all. They are also like 30 to 40 chaos. These give us a huge chunk of mana, a feel good movement speed, 30% is really good, and then this gives us 2% chance to dodge attack and spell hits per 500 maximum mana. So we have 4000 mana, so that's gonna be 16% attack and spell dodge chance from this. Also, when you are not on low mana, you will have Onslaught. Onslaught provides us with 20% attack and cast speed. And low mana means that we have to have a unreserved mana pool more than 50%. The lose 7% maximum mana per second is offsetted through our flask spamming. So since we are going to be spamming mana flask all the time, we're going to be on full mana all the time, and we're going to be getting all the benefits from this boot. Next up, we have the Amulet. We're going to be using the cheap Aziris foible. This is a very good amulet, and this is going to be with you for a long time. Half of the game will be with this, since in very late game you're going to be swapping this for Pandemonius for more damage. This is gonna be your best friend in terms of this build, because it lets you equip all the cosplays without getting like a huge amount of intelligence on your build. Like you need 257 intelligence and 212 dex to equip this, but since we are using Aziris foible, this is gonna be a lot less, and we're gonna be able to equip our swords for basically free. The anoint you want to have here is Blade Master. This is this node over here on the tree, Blade Master. This has accuracy rating, attack speed, and this is why we take it. I'm gonna talk about accuracy and hit chance a bit later. So this is the notable that you want to anoint on Amulet. Now for the ring, we have a Assassin's Mark ring. I just crafted rings, rare items that are here. I manually imported them in PoE with the minimum stats that you need to have on them. So for a rare ring, you want a Shaper ring with at least Assassin's Mark level 8 on it and some intelligence. Any base of a ring works. You can have anything. Any extra stats that you get here are useful, like life, mana, added damage to spells, like added cold damage to spells. They all will be fine. You can have anything. These are very cheap, like 30 to 40 C a piece from start, maybe even less now. And if you get an unset ring base with these stats, then you're gonna be able to use Sigil of Power in this, but that's not unnecessary at all. It's like a really small boss damage and defense boost. That's it. For our second ring, we're gonna be using Essence Worm Unset ring. This will allow us to have one free aura into the build. We're gonna be using Zealotry, of course. Also, this gives +2 level of socketed aura gems, or this will give +2 level to our Zealotry, more damage obviously. Okay, for the belt slot, we don't need a Shaper belt, we just need a belt with increased cooldown recovery rate of minimum 14% and then fire resistance for 40 and above, whatever you can. I did not know how to increase the how to put the increased cooldown recovery rate in a belt without adding the Shaper mod, but you don't need it doesn't have to be a Shaper belt to get this mod. I think you can get it from other places as well. Just make sure you have 14% cooldown recovery on your belt, then fire resistance to cap out your resistances, and then any extra mods that you can get on a belt is a bonus, like mana, HP, flask effect duration, and anything else you want. I included this to be a leather belt. It can be any base, it doesn't matter. Now our flasks, these are the most important aspect of the build. We have to have a mana flask, specifically enduring mana flask. This has to be enduring so that we can spam it and have mana regening all the time. I put this on Enduring Eternal Mana Flask of Warding for curse immunity. And although it shows recover 1000 mana over 4 seconds, this is actually a lot more. Like, this is multiple thousands, like 2000 mana. I don't know why PoE does not calculate this at all. Like, we're gonna be scaling Flasks effect to the moon actually. So this is a must, a build enabler mana flask that you have to get. This costs around 20 to 25 C, I think, or you can craft it yourself as well. It's not a big deal. For second unique flask, we have Taste of Hate. This gives us a bunch of cold damage as well as cold resistance, as well as the most important part, 20% of fizz damage taken from hits as cold damage during flask effect. So since we are going to be under the effect of flasks all the time, we don't run out of flasks at all. So we have permanent fizz damage reduction in terms of that we are taking fizz as cold damage. Also, this is not 20%, this is somewhere around 35 to 38% depending on your flask effect. Next we have the Wise Oak. This is to cap all of our elemental resistances as well as giving us the cold penetration, since the highest uncapped resistance that we have during this flask effect, we will get 13% of 13% of that element's penetration. Since we have Taste of Hate, our highest uncapped resistance here is cold resistance. So because of this Wise Oak, we are getting a lot of cold penetration. So if I uncheck this, you can see we are getting a lot of damage from IceNova to this flasks. Next we have a Diamond Flasks. This is the prefix for this can be experimenters or chemists, it doesn't really matter, but for the suffix it has to be a crafted suffix with increased critical strike chance. This helps us to get close to 100% crit chance. Here you can see we have 99% crit chance with our Cyclone skill. And finally we have a Quicksilver Flask. I put Staunching in it for the bleed removal, but bleeding is not any like bleed, you won't even feel it because of the Indigon region through Mana Flask. So this is just a bonus. Also, if you're running maps that have chaos damage monsters in it, you can swap this Quicksilver Flask for Aziri's Promise, and that will give you a positive chaos resistance and much more survivability in terms of chaos damage. Also, I recommend that you swap Quicksilver Flask for Aziri's Promise on big boss fights like maybe an arena or let's say breach fights or anything like tough bosses. Swap out with Aziri's Promise, it gives you a lot of damage as well. So that's about it for the gears. Now let's look at the skills that we are going to be equipping on them. So firstly, our main 6-link skill will be a Cyclone. This is gonna go into our body armor. I have this on a 5-link. As you can see, we're gonna be linking Cyclone with Cast on Crit and IceNova. This is our main skill. Then we have increased critical strikes, so that we have close to 100% crit chance on this Cyclone, since we need to cast Cyclone, we need to use Cyclone and crit with it. So yeah, that's it. Inspiration for our 5th. This is for more critical strike chance as well as elemental damage. I also did not opt for any alternate quality gems. This is all 2020 normal gems. And our 6th link will be Hypothermia. If I go to the IceNova and check this, look at this damage increase. This is so much on the 6th link. So this is your main priority when you're starting off, to get to a 6th link ASAP. Okay, and next on the weapon 1, on our cost spree. First cost spree will be using a Frostbolt linked to greater multiple projectiles, and our third skill will be Frostbomb. Frostbolt is there for map clearing, since IceNova inherently is casted around you as well as around Frostbolts. So since cost spree will be triggering a socketed cold spell when you crit on an enemy, so when we crit with Cyclone on an enemy, it will cast Frostbolt and IceNova, and the IceNova will be cast around us and around the Frostbolts, making it very potent for clearing maps. And then we have Frostbomb here. This is for applying exposure as well as reducing life regen for bosses. This helps immensely against bosses that are under Maven's watch on normal maps, because Maven adds health regeneration to the bosses. This helps greatly. On our second weapon, we have another IceNova setup. This is a smaller IceNova. This has hypothermia and power charge on crit linked to it, so this is our source of some damage and source of our power charges. If we take a look at this damage, this is doing right now 680k damage at 2020, so this is nothing to be taken lightly. This is a lot of damage right here as well. Now for our next skill on our glove slot, we have Vortex linked to Bone Chill. This is another debuff sort of skill. This you put on your left click and forget about it. Like when you walk, this automatically casts. So Vortex leaves a cold ground on the on under your feet, as well as Frostbolts. This casts on both Frostbolts and on your character. This, when linked to Bone Chill, will apply the Bone Chill debuff to the enemy in it, making them take extra cold damage. We also link this with Archmage to increase the mana cost of the skill, so we can spend a lot of mana and get damage from Indigon. Also, the fourth link is an Arcane Surge, so we have that buff up all the time. Next is our helmet slot. We have Flame Dash, Arcane Cloak, Second Wind, and Bhal RF. I don't have Bhal RF enabled since it inflates the DPS, but I do have Righteous Fire enabled, and you can have this enabled all the time. For spamming mana flasks will make it so that you don't lose life or mana anyways. So Flame Dash for our travel skills, Arcane Cloak for bossing. This gives us a lot of defense as well as damage, because we spend a lot of our mana during Arcane Cloak. Next is, and about Bhal Righteous Fire, I don't recommend using Bhal Righteous Fire during boss fight, but during the preparation phase of a boss fight, you can enable Bhal Righteous Fire and go into the fight, because with the recent changes, when you press Bhal RF, it eats up a big portion of your life and mana, making you vulnerable for a second during boss fights. So it's better to use it at the very beginning when the boss hasn't even started attacking you. This lasts for a long time, so that's it's up to you actually if you want to use it. I personally never use Bhal RF. Next, on the boot slot, we have our aura setup. Here we have precision, max level precision, level 20, a level 1 clarity because of the mana regeneration, and later on in the line we want to get a Watcher's Eye for clarity mods, but do not level this up beyond 1. We just want this here to be able to enable Watcher's Eye mods. If we go, if we level this up, we're gonna be below 50% mana, and thus making Omeokon boots useless. Next is Herald of Ice. This is something you enable to clear maps. With precision level 20, level 1 clarity, and Herald of Ice enabled, you still have 58% unreserved mana, getting all the boosts from Omeokon. During boss fights, you always disable this, so you have all the mana for your damage and defenses. This is purely for map clearing, and never turn this on bosses. Next we have Blood Rage. This is our source of frenzy charge for the time being, as well as a lot of attack speed. Just press this during start of a map and forget about it, because the more you kill, this duration of this skill gets refreshed every time you get a kill. Yeah, that's it. And this does add a lot of attack speed, so if you are like haven't killed in like some 11 seconds, make sure you re-enable this. Next we have the aura on our Essence Worm ring. This is gonna be Zealotry for the spell damage, spell crit chance, and 10% chance of Consecrated Ground. Consecrated Ground is fine, but still this is better than Hatred in some ways, because Hatred gives less cold damage than Zealotry. So the only reason you want to get Hatred instead of Zealotry is if you have a really good Hatred Watcher's Eye mod. So we recommend Zealotry over Hatred on this build, for right now at least. And so that does it for the skills. Next we have the passive tree and the positioning of the jewels and cluster jewels. So this is the tree. This is not gonna be a level. There is gonna be another leveling tree that I'll post with this, because you cannot level this as a cast on crit setup. It's gonna be horrible. A separate path of building for leveling this build will be added into the description. So notable things to know, there will be a unique jewel here called Transcended Spirit. This is also not expensive at all. This is very cheap, like somewhere around 50 to 60 C, maybe even less. This has to go in this specific socket over here. So this gives us accuracy based off of how many dexterity nodes in this radius, and this gives like a lot of accuracy, like 500 600 plus accuracy for being in this spot. Also, another unique jewel here will be Conqueror's Potency. This is a quest reward from Act 8. You can easily get it, no problem. And then I added a Watcher's Eye in this spot with attack speed while affected by precision. If you can't get a Watcher's Eye like this, just replace this with a rare jewel that has attack speed similar to this. For clusters, we have very basic Burden Projection, Essence Rush, and Practice Caster with 8 passive skills. These are like 20 to 30 C a piece. Very cheap cluster to afford. These give a lot of attack speed as well as spell damage. For the medium cluster, we have one with Liquid Inspiration and Special Reserve. This can be anything. We just care about this Liquid Inspiration node over here. You can get any other second notable or even no notable at all, but has to be 5 passives, so we can reach this jewel socket without spending 1 extra point. For this other, we have to have Spike Concoction. I recommend having Distilled Perfection on this slot, because this is for the mana recovery and life recovery boosts. Also 5 passives on here as well. This combination of this is so cheap that I recommend you get the exact combination, so you don't have to spend 2 extra points to get any one of this notable over here. And there are no other things on there, no uniques at all. Also about the small jewels, here we have 2 attack speed jewel. I edited them to have this name, like attack speed jewel. We're gonna be grabbing 2 jewel like this over here with attack speed with swords and increased attack speed, plus either you take mana here or you take life, increased maximum mana or increased maximum life. On this slot we have a accuracy jewel. I took it with maximum life. This is also one, you need one jewel like this with accuracy. It can have life or mana, or if you want more damage you can have crit multi over it alongside these. On this slot we have a damage jewel. I included mana and crit multi with elemental skills and some fire resistance to cap out. The best way to increase damage in this build is through getting more and more crit multi. Right now we're sitting at 328% crit multi. As much as you can get, this damage will improve by a lot. So on the Cyclone IceNova variant, that's it. So let's talk about the Ascendancy real quick. So the first lab that you're gonna get, after getting first lab, you're gonna get this node, Nature's Boon. This allows you to spam flasks, gain flask charges every second. So this will allow you to have unlimited flasks. The second ascendancy you want is Master Alchemist. This makes you immune to ailments, chill, freeze, shock, brittle, sap, everything. You are immune to it while we're under flask effect, and since we're always under flask effect, we're immune to elements. So also get 40% increased elemental damage during any flask effect. So that's a boost to our IceNova damage. Third lab, we want this, actually not this. We want third lab, we want Nature's Adrenaline for the increased movement and attack speed. This is a feel good slot. We are gonna feel really good with this because of the movement speed, and also the attack speed is really good. On the fourth ascendancy we want this Veteran Bowyer. This gives us absolutely nothing except damage penetrate 10% elemental resistance. We grab this simply because we have 10% cold pen, and that's it. And the last one, enemies you kill that grants 100% fast charges while they are affected by ailments. This is a quality of life for mapping. That's it. Also, finally, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the cooldown recovery and attack speed interaction of cast on crit. So cast on crit has a cooldown internally. So with 14% cooldown recovery, we are at the first breakpoint where if we have attack rate of Cyclone at 14.65, we have 14.65 right now, so 15.14 is the first breakpoint. We need to get as close to the 15.14 attack rate without going over it. If we go over 15.14, then we are losing a lot of damage. In this case, with this setup, I have 14.65 attack rate on this with 100% hit chance, as close to 100% effective crit chance as well. So if you are starting out with this build, I highly recommend that you get a 14% cooldown recovery build going, because without this build will feel a little bit underwhelming in terms of damage as well. So another page where all the details, information about cast on crit setup and their cooldown recovery interactions will be linked in the video description as well. Also, this configuration, I'm gonna just do it right now, but this is on Shaper Guardian. We are using power charges, frenzy charges, we have Onslaught from Meocon, we have Alchemist Genius from Cluster, we are leeching energy shield through Cluster as well, we have Flask active, we are not on consecrated ground. Actually we can take this off, no problem. I have listed this as 3000 mana spent recently because we have 4000 mana, so this is not accurate in terms of damage. Just because I did not want to inflate the DPS, I put 3000 instead. If you are putting like 5000, which is gonna be the maximum amount of mana you're gonna be spending in 4 seconds, recently means 4 seconds, then the damage is a lot more higher. So back to 3000. And our crit chance is lucky because of the diamond flask, and the enemy is chill because we are doing cold damage, and that's it. And this is Shaper Guardian DPS. Also for the bandits, help Alira for crit and crit multi and resist plus mana regen. Important upgrades for this build would be to first get a 6th link. That is massive DPS boost. Also getting a second cluster over here will be the next point of upgrade as well. More on that later, because the high budget guide will be coming out in a few days. Hopefully I'm able to do it. And that's about it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I will answer them as best as I can. This is my first take on this, even my first take as making a build guide as well. I hope you enjoy this, and may this build serve you well, Exile.